Hey YouTube, it's the Morning Brew. I'm your host, Eric Castillo, and happy Wednesday. Let's start off. Thanks to a couple new subscribers I've gained this week. We're approaching our 1 year anniversary on March 20th, so I'm not sure if I'm doing anything big or special for that, but it's still a pretty nice landmark to finally know that I've been doing this for a year, almost consistently, except for the couple bumps in the road after when my son was born and as slightly after. Anyways, two big stories today to share, TV related and TV related. One being about a series that came to an end, and one about a series that's coming back in a remake. Start off our news. Parks and Rec aired its last episode last night, 10 p.m. hour-long special, and I have to fully admit I've always been a huge fan of the show from day one. It started airing, I believe, around the same time as Community, and Parks and Rec somehow just caught my attention a lot more, and I fell in love with the show and the entire premise of it. And now that it's over, it's honestly, I think I cried almost the entire episode. I'm not a chicken to admit it. I teared up at every twist and turn of that episode. The funny thing is that the show holds a little bit more than just favorite TV show in recent years. It was actually one of those situations where when I first started dating my wife, I didn't have cable in my house. I had internet, but no cable provider was available. So basically we had to Netflix and Hulu everything for date nights if we were going to stay home and watch TV. And during Parks and Rec's third season, I believe, we kind of I asked her, hey, have you ever seen Parks and Rec? And she goes, I've heard of it. I got friends that watch it, but I've never seen it. So we jumped on Hulu and binged the entire first 2 seasons and a half over a weekend. And we fell in love with the show together. I fell in love with the show all over again. She fell in love with it for the first time, and we pretty much bonded over it. We watched every episode as it came out, and anytime the reruns are on, we watch it. And watching this last season, we actually thought that the last season finale was a series finale and the show had gotten canceled without any say, which is typical of NBC. But when we found out that they got renewed for one more season, NBC actually requested one more season out of them, even though they were ready to let it go at the 2017 time jump they did. Which I'm really glad that wasn't it, because too many loose ends, too many things unanswered. And this series finale, honestly, it's up there with MASH. It ended the way it needed to end. It gave you the closure you needed. It gave you a glimpse of hope of what the characters will be doing since we're no longer going to be a part of their lives. I mean, it was just a wonderful ending. I will say that the one that got me the most, I would have thought that Andy and April would have gotten me the most, because theirs was just this wonderful thing that we've been waiting for them to do, which is start a family. And instead, it was actually Ron's ending that got me teared up the most, because he basically ended up getting everything he'd ever really asked for, but only because the person he mentored and was such close friends with so many years knew him well enough that he would not turn down the possibility of this career choice. And let's face it, Ron's one of the best things that ever come out of that show. And if anybody ever did a show about the Swanson family, I think I'd tune in every day religiously. Of course, Ron Swanson being played by Nick Offerman, if you ever hear any interviews with Nick Offerman in it, he's nothing like his character for the most part. He is as rugged, and he does do the word working and all that stuff, but he's a comedian at heart. He's a comedic actor, and he's a very well-trained actor, has done Broadway. He's married to Megan Mullally, who also does Broadway, and that's how they met, was actually a Broadway theater and all that stuff. But, yeah, good stuff. A couple of highlights of things that I really enjoyed in the show. Obviously, the little Sebastian. I'm with Ben. I don't get it. But I think that's what was so great about it, is that you weren't supposed to get it. He was just supposed to be this enigma of He's amazing for no reason other than being little Sebastian. Kind of like why you... There's absolutely no rhyme or reason why you love a certain shirt or a certain pair of jeans. It's just, that's the pair that you want to wear every time, at any time. Or, yeah, Coke or Pepsi. You just love one or the other, and you have no explanation why. It's just amazing. As I drink. A couple other highlights. One of my favorites, I know my wife always almost hits the floor, is when Gary, Larry, Jerry, eventually Terry, back to Gary, has this unfortunate heart attack, which turned out to be, as Tom Haverford coined it, the fart attack. During one of their Halloween specials, Jerry fortunately gets a scare from Ann and Leslie, and they literally scare the ever-living fart out of that poor man continuously until I think Tom said, "Did you eat farts for breakfast? Oh my god, it smells like a dinosaur farted in here." What's one of my favorite things? Another, like I said, great things about the show. Again, the many quotables from Ron Swanson. And my favorite being, especially after my son was born and he started watching Doc McStuffins and all that crap. There is no more silence. There is only Doc McStuffins. I don't know how hard I must have laughed. I think I woke my son up from his sleep at that time. And then the day after, I started seeing all the memes of Ron surrounded by the Doc McStuffin characters, and I think that was my wallpaper on my phone for a short while, because it was just too precious to pass up on. And of course, my favorite Ron quote that he constantly uses in the show is "Please and thank you." And I think people nowadays forget how much and how far a please and a thank you can get you. It can make a world of difference when it comes to other people. His character leaves that nice message of, like, why are we not polite anymore? You know? And of course, my favorite quote, and I actually have an independent art piece of Ron that says, "Please give me all the bacon and eggs you have." On the episode where they were going to the steakhouse. And the funny thing is that the only reason I have that piece of artwork is I guessed what the character was, because the artist apparently couldn't sell the piece. She'd put it on display, and her Mr. T quote sold, and Sean Connery, 007, all that stuff sold, but this one character with the big old sign that said Pawnee, characters holding bacon on one hand and eggs on the other, and it said, "Give me all the eggs and bacon you have," and it had a little post that said, "If you can tell me who this character is, you can have the piece." I went up and I said, "That's Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. He's in Pawnee, Indiana, and he's the director of the Parks and Rec department." And she handed me the piece with a big smile on her face and said, "That took people 2 years to guess." Other great things, of course, is the Saperstein kids. John Ralphio and Mona Lisa. "They're just terrible." Or as he would put it, "Oh, just the worst." Which most of their dialogue was completely ad-libbed, and I think that's what made their characters so fantastic and so terrible at the same time. Their future 5 years after in 2022, their future basically becomes them frauding life insurance companies to get money and move to wherever the heck to open a club. I think that was the big finale for them. Like I said, overall, the show had a perfect ending. It showcased everything we wanted to see and hear and wanted to know. And I think my absolute favorite, as far as the character's concerned outside of Ron, would have been for Gary. Not only does Gary end up being the mayor in 2017, but he gets voted back into mayorship 10 times for Pawnee. And actually lives to be 100 years old. Gets to see his children grow up, his grandchildren grow up, and his great-grandchildren grow up, and passes away peacefully in his sleep on the night of his 100th birthday. And that was just a beautiful thing. Although, ironically, his wife still looks freaking amazingly hot on his 100th birthday. Last but not least, of course, during the same week the show was going to air, Harris Whittles, one of the executive producers and character and writer of the show, he was Harris, the animal control guy, the big, dumb stoner guy, passed away. And a very sad time to hear that because he was barely 30 years old. And the guy wrote some of the best episodes in the show. And honestly, it's really sad to see such a young comedic mind with such talent and writing ability to have been lost so soon and so early. And of course, the cast being as close as they were, they all sent out their love for him, and their just remorse to see him gone, and just gave him a really nice message at the end of the episode. It said, "We love you, Harris, the Parks and Rec crew." So, like I said, the story had a little bit of greatness, a little bit of bad, and a little bit of sad. But overall, if you've never seen Parks and Rec, I urge you that you really take the time to watch the series from the first episode and now to the last. It honestly will make you laugh a lot. It will have its moments where you will cry and feel a little sad, but they're good moments. They're moments like weddings and, moments of anger when you get jammed. But overall, it's one of those shows that is really worth watching, not because it's the popular thing to do or because it's, water cooler talk. It's just a good show, and that's the reason to tune in. No, not tune in, but catch up with it now. Alright, last but not least, announced today by Disney XD. They're bringing back DuckTales. Oh yeah, they're bringing back DuckTales to Disney XD coming in 2017. Now, my only concern is the show's being described as a comedy. And on top of that, it's not just Uncle Scrooge, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, but Uncle Donald is coming into the mix. Yet no mentions of Launchpad or Gizmo or anybody else. So I'm a little concerned that maybe reboot is a flashy word for we're taking characters that we already know you like and making a whole new show that doesn't really have anything to do with the previous show that you fell in love with. Mouthful right there, I know. Now, DuckTales was one of my least favorite shows growing up, actually. There had its moments that I loved it, and it had its moments where I really hated it. But it was one of my favorite video games from Capcom at the time. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be in shock and start pouring out the hate comments. Go ahead, bring it on. I have my reasons. The show ran for 3 years. It ran for, I believe, Monday through Friday on the Fox Kids Disney lineup they had. And I just really was never a huge fan. I didn't hate it. I loved Gizmo Duck. He was one of my favorite characters. And then I liked Bubba Duck. And I love the movie, but there's a lot of episodes in the show that just really didn't do it for me. Now with the show coming back in 2 years, which is it's really odd to hear that an animated show is going to take 2 years to develop. I mean, what was the point of announcing it now when people just outright forget about it? But then again, when they brought in Girl Meets World, it took them about 4.5 years to actually get the show going. So we'll see what happens. I hope the artwork doesn't change dramatically. I hope they don't suddenly have those weird, like the Quack Pack series where they gave them superpowers at one point. Like, I don't want them to go super weird with the show because it just... What everybody loved about the previous DuckTales was the charm and the semi-relatable realism-ish with still some fantasy, mild fantasy from Disney. Yeah, I know, witches and goblins and all that stuff, but still, it was a fun show for the most part. My favorite, personally, was Darkwing Duck. Now, bring that back, a little bit darker, a little bit grittier, and I'll be happy. So, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Dragged you out for a 14-minute view, but hey, it was worth it, right? So, with that said, please like, share, subscribe, pass the word along, get your friends to watch. Whatever. It's honestly, I appreciate the people I do have viewing now. I wish I could, I wish I could blow up the YouTubes and get the 100,000 subscribers like I wanted a year ago. But hey, it happens. You get what you get, and you should appreciate what you do get, and work harder for what you want. So with that said, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, please do yourself a favor. Enjoy your brew.